Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. We're still doing, actually, we're kind of still starting our action movie month for May 2024. Last week we did.
Die
Why am I
Hard.
forgetting? There we go. I blanked on Die Hard, the greatest non-Christmas movie. Uh, so this week we're actually doing a series. It's two films. It's Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun from 1986, Top Gun Maverick from 2022. Top Gun is one of the classic films. If you're a film lover, you've probably already seen the original. You might not have seen the newer version, Maverick from 2022, so we will give you a spoiler warning for that. But before we get into it, we want to give a brief description of both films. I'm going to read the description for Top Gun, and Jason will read the description for Maverick. So, Top Gun is an iconic action drama that captures an adrenaline-fueled world of naval aviation. The film follows the story of Pete Maverick Mitchell, played by Tom Cruise, a talented but reckless fighter pilot who is accepted into the prestigious Top Gun Naval Flying School. Their Maverick competes against the best pilots in the country, including his cool and collected rival, Iceman, portrayed by Val Kilmer. As Maverick pushes the limits in the sky, he also navigates a romance with his civilian instructor, Charlotte Charlie Blackwood, played by Kelly McGillis. The film is renowned for its breathtaking aerial sequences and a soundtrack that became a cultural phenomenon. Maverick's journey is not just about mastering the skies, it's also a path of personal growth, dealing with the legacy of his father's mysterious death and overcoming his own inner demons to emerge as a true Top Gun in the Navy.
Yeah, that's Top Gun. And so here's a summary of Maverick. Top Gun Maverick soars as a long-awaited sequel to the 1986 classic, bringing back Tom Cruise as the legendary Pete Maverick Mitchell. Set more than 3 decades after original, Maverick is now a seasoned test pilot who avoids promotion to continue flying. When he returns to the Top Gun Naval Flying School, he faces the challenge of training a group of talented but green pilots for a mission that is as dangerous as it is critical. Among them is Lieutenant Bradley Rooster Bradshaw, the son of Maverick's late best friend Goose. As Maverick confronts his past and the specter of a changing future where drones may replace pilots, the film delivers intense action, emotional depth, and a tribute to the human spirit. With the breathtaking aerial stunts and a heart-pounding soundtrack, Top Gun Maverick honors its roots while charting new heights, proving that some legends never fade. Oh. But we were just talking about that. Basically, the two movies are exactly the same. Basically,
Yeah. Yes. Just more inclusion in Maverick. Like, we were talking about it before we got on, and there's like a subtle little shot. I watched Top Gun. I'd seen it a few months ago, or maybe a year or so ago, for the first time, and I was into it. I was juiced. So
crazy.
I understood why this 2-hour recruitment video for the military was what it was back in the 80s. But then watching it for this, like before recording, I almost was like, I don't need to watch it. I just watched it. But I'm happy I watched it because it felt like a new film. Like, it felt like there were so many things I missed. And one thing was the only black dude in Top Gun. His name is Sundown, which is, kind of subtly racist, if you know what it means, or you can Google it. So that's something I didn't catch the first time. Yeah, maybe not Google it. But I didn't catch it the first time I watched it a few months back, or a year ago, whatever.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to know that you the first time watching Top Gun was a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, I watched Top Gun a long time ago, and it's funny. I wonder, because my dad loved this movie, and so my dad was like really into like war movies and stuff, and so we would watch them together whenever we could. But I wonder if I ask him now, like, hey, would you like consider Top Gun like a naval recruiting film, like basically like working like that? He'll probably now that he thinks about it, probably. But I wonder how much the Navy, the military, contributes to the recruitment based off this film.
What's funny though is like how you said you watched this with your dad because he enjoyed this, like he was super into it. My dad was the opposite. My dad was in the military. He actually, I think he joined in '86, fresh out of high school, and so I think he saw that increase of people after that film came out. And he was in the military, but he wasn't like gung ho about it. So he probably like saw this movie and was like, I'm already in this shit. I don't need to watch a movie about it because I just know how that man is. So that's funny that your dad was really into it and my dad was not at all. So I didn't watch it until I was an adult.
I guess that also kind of conveys that like people that are in the military. Granted, my father was never in the military, but there's that dynamic where it's like your dad's in the military and all that stuff at that moment, and he's like, I'm living this, so I really don't need to
Yeah.
like watch something that reminds me of that. And probably still today afterwards, he's probably like, I don't need to watch anything that reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But like us regular Joe schmoes that want to see that aspect of life, we watch these movies, and maybe they're like a little more dramatic and over the top,
Oh, for
uh,
sure.
especially with Top Gun, the first movie, and then it
Yeah.
like takes it to 100 for the second one.
Yes. What still blows my mind though is the fact that he was able to have a relationship with one of his instructors in the first one. Like
Yeah, yeah.
she had to have known, like when they first met at the bar, she had to have kind of known. Like he said, he was a pilot. They're about to
He's
start
wearing a
start
suit,
this.
like the pilot
Yeah,
suit, right? So
he's wearing his.
the
They're not
naval
called
whites.
blues. Yeah, yeah, they're not called
Yeah,
blues in the Navy. They're called whites. Yeah. So he's wearing that in a bar. It's like, okay, he's here dressed like this for a reason, and for her to just be blind to that, and then 10 minutes later they're shacking up. It's kind of like what?
and afterwards when he figures out that she's the instructor and everything,
Yeah,
or
and he's
this
trying to
like
hide in class, like, oh no,
but then
don't see
she's like,
me.
I have top secret clearance. I have better
Yeah,
clearance than you. Like, then you should know about him, I guess,
exactly.
right?
You should have known who I was. You definitely saw my picture when you were floating through all the folders of people here. Like, come on, lady. But the
But
one, like, go ahead.
for me, if I can interject, it's funny
Yeah,
just
yeah.
seeing like watching Tom Cruise from the first
Oh,
Top Gun,
86 and yeah.
and then you see like the dude looks exactly the same basically,
The only thing is his teeth
and
changed.
teeth. Well, it's like, yeah, you make
He
some
got
money,
money.
you get some
Yeah,
new teeth
yeah,
in there and everything. And
yeah.
so,
Makes sense.
but then you wonder like other people around him that like maybe worked on like the first
No,
movie. They're like, oh my god, this guy
the
never aged.
the instructor, like, I don't know how true this is. I only saw like photos, but supposedly the instructor that he had the relationship with in the original, she wasn't brought back because of how she looked.
Oh, that's messed up.
I don't know how true it is. That could be speculation, but that was something. That was
That's
something I
messed
heard
up.
when Maverick was coming out. Because like
I would have
even
been
Val
so
Kilmer, like
butthurt, be like, screw
yeah,
that
Val Kilmer was having his
guy.
health things, but he still showed up. He was still in the film.
That is
It was
true.
sad as hell seeing him, but
That's what I
at least
commend
he
for
was
the
in it.
second one, showing Val Kilmer and like knowing, because when they first start the second one,
Yeah.
Val Kilmer is listed as an actor, and
Hmm.
then you hear about like you see little tidbits, but then Maverick is texting him, and so
Yeah.
I was
You
like,
just see
oh, maybe
ice.
that's like the
Hmm.
way to like kind of like allow him to be in the movie without it
Yeah.
like with his failing health, but to have him in the movie and everything actually physically show up and everything, it's
That's
kind of
cool.
nice.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was nice, but it was also sad. Like, man, like to see, especially to have watched the original and then watch this one, knowing it's like a damn near 40 year difference. It's like, man, that's a hell of a change.
Yeah, and actually, Patty didn't know that he had health problems. I was like, yeah, like
Oh man,
there's a reason why he barely speaks and stuff, and
yeah,
like he's going through a lot of stuff and everything. And it's like, and then he probably has to see Tom Cruise like never aging, will never
you
die
still look great,
probably.
Tom. Just text him on the side. I hate you, Tom.
Just
Why are
on
you
his
still
computer. Fuck you.
But the one thing that I love about these films is the way they were able to capture the flights.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
to watch the original and to see, because knowing how huge, like how large those cameras were back then, like how were you able to strap this huge camera to a jet and get some of these shots? Like some did seem like when they were in the cockpit, it felt like it might have been on a stage, but it still was a nice shot. And then to fast forward to Maverick, and I'd seen some behind the scenes. They had multiple cameras right in front of them as they were filming in the cockpits, and those shots are
And he's in the
insane.
cockpit too, right?
Hmm.
Like, and so that's like that's what I see. The differences in the two movies. I see
Hmm.
Top Gun as like almost like a technical marvel because back in
Yeah.
'86, people are probably like, "How the hell did you get this shot? How
Yes.
do you film these planes flying
Flying.
from
Hmm.
even from far away and stuff?" And I'm assuming with the cockpit scenes, like you said, like it seemed fairly close up
Yeah.
that any CGI that was needed for the background was not so prominent in the shot. It was like more of like a really close up shot.
Hmm.
Where in Maverick,
Oh, they
I'm
were right there.
assuming, yeah, and they were right there, but you saw
Hmm.
more of the side, and you
Yeah.
did see that he was like actually in flight and everything. You saw his
That's going
face
to lead me to my
distort.
next question too. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it's like I saw Top Gun as like a technical marvel. I saw
Hmm.
Maverick as like a sort of improvement on the story and everything.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Yeah. I
you
totally
kind of
agree with that.
assume that their way of filming this movie with Maverick would be better and
Yeah.
possibly
It's smaller
have
cameras.
more. Yeah, they have smaller cameras. They can probably the military's probably like, yeah, you hit it out of the ballpark with the first Top Gun. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just give you a plane.
We got a lot of people joining. Here's some more
Yeah,
money. Like we
yeah, we'll
got you.
strap Tom
Use
Cruise in
any
there. Who
jet.
cares?
You want a test jet that we've never shown on camera? Yeah, we'll let Tom Cruise fly
Yeah,
that.
that Dark Star is actually like a real plane, right?
Legit, yeah.
So
So that leads me to my question. Do you think they're
mhm.
actually flying these jets?
I think Tom Cruise in some of the scenes he is
Yeah.
actually in like a passenger seat because you see
Oh, that
his
makes sense.
face like
Yeah.
distort and
From the
everything, and you can
G's. Yeah.
tell he's like experiencing G's. I think in like those in Top Gun you saw in the first one there was like a lot of like a co-pilot or like a person like a navigator and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm assuming in Maverick he's sitting in that navigator seat and there's someone like flying him
There's
around.
film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way they shoot it, you can't really tell. It kind of feels like, oh man, these people may, I don't know how, but these people may be flying these jets. And yeah, you feel like I've brought it up, you've brought it up, but the difference between film and digital, like
Mhm.
watching Maverick, it felt very clinical, very clean, which some people love. Uh, but the original just had this different feel to it
Yeah.
that you can't replicate with digital. Like you can try all the LUTs and whatever, but it's just not the same.
I think if you're gonna try to go like granted I have an OLED TV. I have like I turned off all the lights and everything. It's 4K. So if you're gonna go and like for Maverick, you're gonna go just all out for it.
Hmm.
Then that clinical look to it, then it's like, all right, just show me like how nice these planes look. Show
Yeah,
me the detail in like the
the
electronics and everything.
landscapes and everything. Yeah,
Yeah, so show me the cool stuff and then yeah, then I'm happy with that. But like yeah,
yeah,
you get a little bit more flavor with Top Gun where it's like it's a little bit more it looks like an 80s movie.
yeah. And there's some imperfections, and it's like, oh, I still like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I like the callbacks too. Like you were saying, the story was better in Maverick.
Mhm.
But I like that they did the callbacks, like him riding on his motorcycle against the jet, them doing the song, or Rooster doing the song in the
Mhm.
bar,
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
then the infamous beach scene when everyone's shirtless. They had to bring they
Yeah.
had to bring that back and amplify it.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they had those callbacks.
Patty was like, man, there's people out there that like I gotta see Tom Cruise shirtless on the beach.
And he still looks great for was he 60 at this point, 60
I don't
odd,
know, man. That guy's
just ageless, just a vampire, none of us know
right.
it.
but but yeah, in terms of like what I really liked about Maverick, and granted, like you and I were talking about this, like these are essentially the same exact movie.
Hmm.
Like there's like shot for shot, like exactly the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just Maverick changes it up because there's that added the added thing where it's like, oh, they're actually doing a mission. And I think that
Yeah.
adds a little bit more like,
Exactly.
oh, there's like story to this and they have to do something. It goes kind of a little bit off the wall at the end
They
of
should have
it.
died. Like, yeah, that's my gripe though, and that's probably what you're going to get into. But that's my gripe with the original is it's like not much happens.
Yeah.
They have the dogfight in the beginning of the film, and then they go to Top Gun. They're in Top Gun for a cool hour, and then Tom Cruise gets second, and then it's like, oh hey, but we need your second, and you're kind of off your game, but we need you to fly in this mission, and then everything is back to normal.
And it's like 10
Where
minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Maverick is like, no, we're sending you on a mission, or we need you to teach these kids because you're a crazy pilot, so we know you can do this. You're going to teach these students, these pilots, how to accomplish this mission. Like you're way too old to be flying. That's another whole nother story of how the hell is he still in the military? How is the man in the black hat from Westworld still in the military? He's 94. That's so many questions. Like when I first watched Maverick, when it came out, I was like, these dudes are old. What are they doing?
Well, that's
But yeah,
that's
this
why.
Maverick had a better story. But it was the same story, just added some extra little flavor to it.
Yeah, and I think that's like where with the first, and granted we watch these back to back basically,
Hmm.
like not many people do that on a regular basis and stuff, and so and the perspective that you said where it's like if you're watching it in a different kind of perspective where you're like, I'm watching this movie to talk about it, maybe other
Yeah,
people want to listen to us and say like, oh, I want to watch Top Gun or I want to watch Maverick, where you're looking at it in a different way, not so critical. We're not the most like film people and everything in the world.
yeah. We watch it to
But
enjoy.
yeah, we watch it to enjoy, but you can see that Top Gun can get boring because it's like, all right, they're just all douchebags to each other and they're all
Yeah.
gung ho about everything. And all the one liners in Top Gun, it gets very tiresome once you like but that's where Maverick kind of steps it up a little bit because the story kind of keeps you
Hmm.
enthralled. Where the one-liners, how much they suck at being humans and everything, because it's
Yeah.
like they. But granted, you kind of like look at them. They're like they're like F1 drivers. They have to be arrogant because it's like there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes on
They're
and stuff.
there's a small percentage of them in the world.
Yeah, yeah, and they know
Yeah.
that they're like astronauts or
Yeah.
something. Like it's like no,
Yeah.
we know we're like a very handful of
We're the
people.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's cool though, it didn't feel like it didn't feel like in Top Gun you were able to really get an understanding or like a feel for the other characters outside of Iceman, Goose, Maverick, and then the
the
ladies, the
the
instructor
lady, yeah, and then
and
the main
the
dude that
wife.
was training them or something, that one
Yeah,
guy.
so you had a very small pool of people where you kind of got a little bit of like, oh, that character is this type of person. Where in Maverick, like you got a full gamut of characters,
Hmm.
and they all had personalities, which was cool.
Yeah, they had their uniqueness and everything, like the
Hmm.
dude that like, oh, he's like just in the background and he's very quiet
No,
and stuff,
Bob.
but yeah,
Yeah,
Bob. It's like
my guy Bob. Yeah,
but like he had his like thing, he was good at what he did and everything, so it's like he's like
minus
one of
that
those
laser.
people. But yeah, it's the laser, come on. But
Bob
it's
just
like
only job.
it's like he is like one of those people that's like, yeah, like I do my job and everything, but
Yeah,
my job does not define me, I guess, and stuff. And so
where a lot of those
uh
other ones were like, no, this is my life, and you're like, all right, relax.
yeah, yeah, it's like that's why they end up meeting each other and stuff. Like you kind of get some
Hmm.
like romantic kind of back and forth with some of them in Maverick, where it's like pretty much that's all you can date probably, because no one else
Yeah,
understands what the hell you do.
yeah. Like, okay, all you do is talk about components within your plane. Great. Ooh, I love you. Ooh, can we go to dinner now? Like, all right. But one, dang, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. So, we were talking about the personalities of the characters. So in Maverick, who was Goose and
Oh,
who was the new Goose and who was the new Maverick?
so Patty and I are opposite on this.
Okay.
I think so. I was thinking the guy that was opposite Rooster. The other guy that was like really arrogant, like I'm gonna be
Oh,
number
Hangman.
one. Yeah, Hangman.
Yeah,
I thought he was the Maverick, and then
that's what I thought.
Rooster was
His father.
his father, or like you can say Iceman.
Oh, Iceman. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
better comparison.
where
Yeah.
Patty thought it was the reverse, where because
Hmm.
like Hangman was like, oh, like we still have to do this correctly and stuff, and like he had opposition to Rooster because he was like, oh, you have this thing with like Maverick telling you stuff, and then he finds
Hmm.
out that Goose is his dad and died and all this stuff. So he was like that person that almost like Iceman in the first one,
Like
where
a
like
chip on his shoulder
yeah, he's too like
by
random
the book.
for this
Uh,
like this hard job. And where like Iceman was saying that like Maverick is just like too off the wall to do
hmm
this correctly and stuff, or like or do it without killing anybody else basically.
Yeah.
So that was my thought. I don't know. What'd you think?
I think Hangman was kind of a mix between Iceman and Maverick
Hmm.
because of his arrogance. Maverick wasn't like very vocally arrogant at like
That's true.
sometimes, but yeah, not often. So Hangman was more vocally arrogant. Iceman wasn't. Um, but him like his way of flying felt very Maverick
Hmm.
like his way of dogfighting, like the fact that he was almost able to shoot Maverick down during the dogfight was kind of like okay, like he knows what he's doing.
Hmm.
So that's why I kind of lean more towards him being a new version of Maverick. Goose just felt yeah he would in the beginning of the film like he was holding something back, so it didn't really feel like he could be comparable to Maverick. And it wasn't until the end where he was like, okay, this man saved my life. Now I need to go back and save his life. And he was just doing some off the wall stuff that he definitely would have died doing. But it's a movie, so movie logic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's my hardest thing to like to give up or like to not think about for Maverick, where it's just like
Yeah.
they are not going to be stealing uh, uh, a plane
Yeah.
from like or essentially those are the
Another
Russians.
country. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then have
and
no
after they did
runway,
all
but
this
still get
stuff,
up.
yeah, so it's like it gets into like that territory, like you said, where it's like yeah, movie logic kind of goes out the window, and they were like, we need to end this and
Yeah.
not kill any more people, I guess.
Nobody dies. Like you're going up against this high powered jet and you have no bullets left and you don't die.
Yeah,
Because
two of
Hangman
them.
comes to rescue you. It's like, all right, come on, impossible.
I
That jet
one
would have
last
fired
thing
already.
for
Mm-hmm.
me, watching the second one, I noticed that it's happening in more modern movies
Mm-hmm.
where it transitions from traditional widescreen
Oh, the
to a
aspect
more
ratio.
taller widescreen and aspect
Yeah,
ratio for like more of the dramatic kind of like action shots. What do you think about that?
I didn't. I didn't notice it, but I have seen that in other films. There's ways of doing it. There's ways of doing it subtly, and then there's ways that are like in your face, and you're like, man, that was jarring.
Hmm.
This one, I didn't notice it, so it was subtle to me. But I've seen other films where it's like, why do you keep changing? Like, choose one aspect ratio and stick with it. Like, you don't need to change based on the mood of what we're watching.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like more noticeable in like a big movie theater where it's like this one. I had to go back and confirm
Mm,
that I saw that and stuff. So I rewinded to like an action sequence, and
yeah.
it does get taller in aspect ratio. So it's like all right, I guess it's like it's more of a way to like let's give more of the screen, more
Hmm.
real estate for this shot. But then yeah, I can see where it's like all right, like what's the point of doing the two aspect
Yeah.
ratios and stuff like.
It feels like that choice should have been made for the entire film. Like, hey, let's make this the set aspect ratio for this film so we can give the viewers as much as we can.
Yeah, I can see where it's like if they had a taller aspect ratio with like the more dramatic scenes, it probably would take away from like it being dramatic, basically.
Yeah.
But this movie's not really like looking for like like those heart throbbing moments. You're like looking for the
Yeah.
action most of all.
Action. It's an action movie with some love sprinkled in for who knows what reason.
Yeah, no reason. And actually, Patty said she was like, when there was like this random love scene with like, what's his name, Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly. She was like, I didn't need that. Like, there's no point in
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's my dislike from the first one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, why is there a blue sex scene? And they're just like a close up on their mouths making out. I'm like, what? Like, come on.
Well, back then, I think in the 80s and 90s, I think every movie that was like an action movie or whatever was like, all right, we just got to stick in boobs or something,
Yeah.
like just some
let's
random
sneak
naked
this in
person.
there. Let's sneak this in there to them. They'll never know. That's true. Because I watched, was it Porky's? It's like an old Bill Murray film from like the 80s, and it's just titties. And you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, but it's like in like really random movies too. It's like it just seemed like
Yeah.
back then they were like, all right, let's just put it everywhere and stuff. And
Let's spice this up.
yeah.
Since we're talking about the random nudity in films from the 80s, the shower scene in the first one in Top Gun.
Oh.
Are you are you having full conversations in your towel after showering at the gym if you shower at the gym?
I used to shower at the gym, but then
Mm-hmm.
when I first started going, but then you get those like people that want to talk to you while you're like
Yeah.
while you're changing and stuff, which is
And they
like
got their thing out and you're like, all right.
there's just a lot going on, and so it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I for myself when I'm done at the gym, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go maybe wash my
Packing my
hands
stuff
and then
up.
I'm gonna leave.
You don't like getting into the dude sweat
But
of the
it's like
situation.
I guess with them, they're like, all right, like we finally showered off all the excitement of like what we just did. So
Yeah.
let's just talk to each other and stuff.
Just talk about it. But I'm like, nah, we can wait. Like we can put some underwear on. Like it's cool. Because one of the dude, like it's cool. Like I didn't mind. Hey, I showered. I got a towel on. I'm having a conversation. But then once you lift your leg onto a bench and all you got is a towel on, it's like, come on. Like just put the leg down. We can have a conversation. That's all good.
Just gotta do it, I guess.
Got to show you something.
All
Play a
right.
little peekaboo.
With these two movies, do you recommend
Yeah.
both? Do you recommend doing like what we did and stuff, like watching the first one and then maybe the next day watching the second one?
Yeah. Well, I have two answers for that. I say yes. Like if you're looking for an action film to watch and you like war or flying, whatever, aviation is what I should say. If you're into that, I would say watch both because Top Gun, the original, is a classic and Maverick is a great film. But if you were to only choose one, I would say watch Maverick.
Yeah, I can see that. Where like it, yeah, because Maverick's more of a movie. It's like there's more things going on and stuff. And I can see a lot of people that are not used to like all the back and forth of like machismo and everything. The first one can get like tiresome if you're not like looking for that and stuff.
Yeah.
Granted, if you love the first one or you remember watching the first one, watch them back to back and see what you think. I think that's like a good way to kind of gauge like, did you like? There's always that question like, oh, like what's a movie you saw a long time ago that you watch now and you're like, oh, that's not a movie I want to watch.
That doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
Where Maverick's not bad. Maverick is Patty was like, yeah, these are. Maverick does seem like it fits the bill as like a better movie. That doesn't bode well for my rating, but not like that. It's like very dramatic, but yeah. So, what'd you have them rated them? Did you rate both of them?
Yeah. I gave the original a 2.5, a 3. If I'm being nice, depending on the day. And then I gave Maverick a 3.5, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I ended up giving both of them a 4 because essentially, like we said,
they're the same.
These are the same exact movies. Where one you can say it's better in the story, it falters in other things. Where the other one is better in these action sequences, it falters in other things. So it's like if you're kind of like if you're looking at both of these, and granted, because we watch them back to back, these
Yeah.
are exactly the same. Just one looks amazing in modern TV and in modern TVs and everything. But
True.
where I like to that point of for the first one, we talked about like the film and everything. It looks nice. There's a little bit more kind of like character to it.
Hmm.
The the look of the first Top Gun, I like Die Hard better because I feel like
Oh,
Die
for
Hard
sure.
kind of like kept its like its luster and everything.
Yeah.
Where
That
I don't
still
know
looks
if
like a
like
film that could come out next week and you would still go to the theater and watch it.
yeah, yeah, that definitely. Like I think about like that what's that movie with not Thief, but The Game,
Oh,
where
yeah.
like that
With
movie
Michael
from like
Douglas?
it's probably like the 80s or something, right? It was like the early 90s
No,
where
it was early 90s. Yeah.
it still holds its like character and its look and everything. Granted, some of the things may be like
That's
outdated, but it still keeps its like stuff.
that's all Fincher films though. Like
Yeah.
Fight Club, Seven, like those all still look like movies that could be released
That is true.
now. And you're like, damn,
Yeah.
this came out 20, 30 years ago? Like,
Yeah, he looks
eesh.
at like yeah, it definitely like he goes for like the timeless where it's like
Yeah.
it's gonna look great 30 years from now. Probably.
Yeah.
But all right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week with another one. And please let us know if you watched Top Gun or Maverick in the comments. If you liked them, disliked them, did you watch both of them at the same time? But please like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more podcasts like these.